So the first question I want to ask is, I've been sitting here, this is my first time, this is my first time in the room with you. I've been listening to you for years. And I'm sitting there listening to you answer these questions, and I'm so interested, and I feel like, so in alignment. And it's like the minute I'm so thrilled with what's happening, I think of like new questions. And immediately, I hear the answer to them. Like I imagine, maybe I've been listening to you for too long, because I imagine exactly, I'm like, I just know what Esther and I know what Abraham would say. Like they would say this. So my question is, am I simultaneously having a conversation with you over there?
What's happening is, as in whatever way it happens, and being in an environment like this, your vibration is raising, so you have access to the same stream of thought that Esther does. In other words, this is not a secret. Please tell the secret. And so in the same way that you realize the answer to your question, you'll realize the manifestation for all of your dreams. In other words, it's the same exact thing. Once your vibration raises, then the transfer from the vibration into the reality, so it comes into a stronger and stronger and stronger train of thought. Yes.
So it's the same thing I'm experiencing with my thought is what I'm experiencing in my life.
Yes.
Thank you. And then, I knew you were going to say that.
We knew you knew. Did you know that we knew that you knew?
I did. But I wanted to come up here because I knew it would be so fun. So I coach dancers, and I love facilitating workshops and going in with the idea that I can envision their greatness and sort of like holding that place for them and watching them play and watching them kind of like come into the fullness of all that they are. And I try really hard, as I've been listening to you, to really be mindful of not inserting myself into their experience.
Not projecting conditions.
Yeah.
Over their progress in order to feel good. So how are you doing? How's that
working out for me?
Well, we know that it is working out for you. We were wanting you to express what thoughts you've been thinking, to hold yourself there, because in an environment like that, there are those who excel, those not so much. And so if you're asking the question, who can jump the highest, some may win and some may lose. If you ask who's having the most fun, they're all on an equal platform. Can you feel what we're talking about? If you're asking which is the richest experience, they're all in an equal place. But if you're asking who came with the greatest ability before they even got there, or who has the greatest strength, this is a good conversation to have about this unconditional stuff, because what really matters, the conditions are not so important about, are they? Yeah. We want to say this in a way that you can really hear it, because we can feel a little wobble in your vibration when we say something like what we just said. So let's take a moment and clean this up. So if we say to you, we want you to live unconditional love, you get that theoretically. We've talked about it enough today that you get it. And then we start demonstrating how to pull back or turn your attention from the details of the condition rather than trying to alter them, because that efforting just adds more emphasis and more momentum to the very thing that you're trying to let loose of. So we talk about this generality, focus generally, find the emotion of it, and then watch what happens. So it sounds like what we might be saying is, if you can focus unconditionally, you can then change your conditions. And that sounds like a contradiction to the message, because it really isn't the conditions. We want you to focus unconditionally. But the reason that we want you to focus unconditionally is because of the prejudices you already have placed on the conditions in the way you're focusing. When you start focusing from a place of non-resistance or non-wobble, then the conditions of your life experience will take on more detail. So we're not trying to teach you how to be less human or less physical or have fewer manifestations. In fact, you want more of all of those things. We are only showing you the easy, natural way, easy, leverage way to get there. But we want you to understand it. And our discussion about Esther thinking that she'd caught us as she was basking over conditions is like getting the horse before the cart rather than the cart before the horse. It's about finding the vibrational place first and then allowing the manifestations to erupt as a result of those. But you have to continue to be mindful to care about how you feel first and foremost, because you can flip it at any time without meaning to. You could have conditions that bother you, and so you don't give your attention to them. Our friend whose father's from India sort of was talking about that. Conditions that are overwhelming, so you withdraw from your attention and then find alignment. And then in finding the alignment, the momentum becoming more and more and more, you could at any time mess up your alignment by becoming conditional. But it's only focusing on the absence of what you want that messes up your alignment. In other words, we've written several books, and all of them we were helping you pivot. We were helping you to focus upon what felt better. We were talking about whether you're going upstream or downstream. We've been talking about looking for the positive aspects in things. We've been presenting books to you and encouraging you to focus on anything and focus upon its positive aspects. And in all of that, you have been improving your vibrational point of attraction. Now, as we are talking about this step 4 living, where you're wanting to sustain it, now you reach the place where you can, if you want to, you can hold yourself in an definite, infinite, chronic place of allowing only what you want, if you are willing to, in the moment that you begin to feel a wobble, withdraw your attention from whatever is causing you to wobble and allow yourself to stabilize within the subject that is important to you without introducing the resistance to it. Then Source, who adds their undivided attention to it, then it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, so you get the results that you want faster, and you hold yourself steadily in this good feeling place of never-ending expansion. All right, you sort of heard that. It was a little rough. Let's clean it up. What do you think about this? You like the idea of trajectory? Mm-hmm. And you certainly understand that you were source energy before you got here. We can feel you getting that more and more. So how does this sit with you from where you are right now? You're here. You're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, waiting for inspiration, and it's coming. Steadily, the path unfolds. But when you step into it, you realize you're in the middle of a problem. A problem. So Abraham, does that mean that along my path, along my trajectory, along my purpose for life, that there could be a problem and that it's a good thing because it's on my path? Yes. Because with the problem comes the solution. And without the problem doesn't come the solution. And without the contrast that caused the problem that brought the solution, there is no expansion. Really? So it really is all right? So where I'm standing is all right? So the less than is part of the more than? Abraham, are you saying that my inner being in my aligned state would actually lead me on a path that would present a problem to me? Because in my focusing upon the problem, I'm actually focusing the solution into place? Do you hear that? All solutions are born from attention to the problems. So you got to stop beating up on yourself when you're standing on your path in the problem phase. Because it's all part of the path. And when you know that, so you're not condemning yourself, you're not calling it a problem, instead it's part of the unfolding, then it all starts to be fun. We watch you. You climb mountains for sport. because you like being at the top, and when you get up there, it was worth it, wasn't it? It was worth it. And so you get carried away in the step one part of it, and you have more pain than you ever need for the gain that you have, but really you can't get this wrong. You can't get it wrong, and you're not ever going to get it done. There's always something of value. It's so nice when you orient yourself into this place where you are accepting of where you are, because it's the right place and it's the right time to be where you are. And now what? What do you choose from where you are? And what you always choose is you always choose to feel better. And sometimes better means faster, sometimes better means slower. Sometimes what you're reaching for means to be with more people, sometimes it means to be with less people. There's not a condition that you could state that this is the way to live, because you are flexible beings, and your expansion is all about where you are and what's next. And there's not ever going to be a place that you're standing where you say, there, now I've got it done, now everything is in place. There's always going to be something else that you're reaching for. Always. And if it's not being fun, then something's out of whack, because the source within you is having fun here and now. The source within you is enjoying your moment in time. If you aren't, something's off, and you're the only one who can get it back on, which almost always means just lighten up, be nicer to yourself, or be nicer to somebody, or just take a nap. Do anything that you can do to stop the momentum that doesn't feel good. And we don't want you sleeping all the time either, but but it's better than continuing momentum if you don't feel good, you see. Good. We've sort of chewed that over in a way that you're hearing it. So now what?
You keep answering everything.
Works both ways, you know. You're not the only one that gets us. We get you.
Exactly. So in the being in the space and facilitating things, one thing that I notice that happens is sometimes, and you've spoken to this so much today, but in my unwillingness to insert myself and sort of like control what's happening, I want to just let it happen. Sometimes I hesitate from saying things or asking a question or pushing them in a way that I know will help them, because...
Well, what you're trying to identify is when you are really in alignment, your inspiration is so strong that you just blurt it out.
Yeah. And I can feel the difference. Right.
And what Esther's noticing, in her clarity, she's more forthright in her conversation. And sometimes, after the fact, she'll say to herself, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And we say, what's the point of guidance if you're not going to follow it? If you feel an impulse to say something, say it. Because your inner being isn't saying, say this because they're ready to hear it. Your inner being is saying, say this because you're ready to say it. It's not your problem if they're not ready to hear it.
Oh, wow.
That'll make you timid. That'll make you timid. If you're evaluating the things that you're inspired to be and do and have and say by others' reaction to it, you see. People have trained you into shyness in some ways with their lack of alignment, but that was then. This is now. You all now know how to feel better, don't you?
That's exactly what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really good.